What's up, everybody? So this is Stacy Cochran, and I'm going to do a video narration of the Mt Lemmon Ascent. So what you're looking at this point is Google Earth satellite footage of Strava data from a run that I did yesterday with the Tucson Trail Runners group. So I downloaded the Strava data from Strava to my MacBook Pro, and then uploaded the Strava data to Google Earth. So what you're looking at this point is the beginning of the run from Sabino Canyon Recreation Area to the summit at Mt Lemmon. Now the first part of the run, which we just completed, is along the paved tram road in Sabino Canyon. And at this point we're climbing the switchbacks above the tram road. So for the next couple of miles, we'll continue along Sabino Canyon, up high along the canyon wall to West Fork. And at West Fork, we'll reach the Sabino Creek Basin and turn west and continue the ascent up to Romero Pass. And along the way, we'll pass Hutches Pool. So there's some really interesting things to point out about this particular run. First, we start at about 2,700 feet elevation and then climb a total to 9,000 feet at the summit. At this point, we've just turned onto West Fork, so this is footage of West Fork from the run. And as I said a moment ago, the next major destination that you'll see is Hutches Pool. So I've just stopped for a moment to refill my water there using a Sawyer mini water filter. There's a little bit of water in Hutches Pool, as you can see there in the foreground. I went up to Hutches Pool and then turned around and continued back up the West Fork Sabino Creek Basin. And at this point we're climbing some pretty sick vertical gain. At Romero Pass, the elevation is about 6,000 feet. So as I said a moment ago, we started at Sabino Canyon Recreation Area, and the elevation there is about 2,700 feet above sea level. So the total elevation gain of this entire run was 7,100 plus feet of elevation gain. Way more elevation gain than anything I'd ever run before in a single day in my life. Continuing up West Fork at this point, we're entering a sort of a woody riparian zone and are approaching 5,000, maybe 5,500 feet above sea level. So we've moved a little bit beyond the ecological zone typically identified with the desert, and through this particular basin there's quite a diverse range of riparian woodland. And then as we move away from the basin, which is what I've just started to do here, and climb in elevation, we're finally approaching Romero Pass. So the first part of this run up to Romero Pass, for somebody who's in pretty darn good shape, is mostly runnable. The trail is fairly runnable, and I was doing okay at this point. So to Romero Pass, the total mileage from the Sabino Canyon Recreation Area is 11 miles or so, give or take about a half mile. So here we are coming up to Romero Pass, where you can see out to the west over West Tucson. But it's the climb after Romero Pass where things get really, really interesting. So we leave Romero Pass at 6,000 feet, and at this point we're just climbing insane, sick, vertical footage, elevation gain. The pass again was around 6,000 feet, and we're climbing up to the summit at 9,000 feet. And so this next stretch, that we're watching at this point, is really slow going. I was clicking through this at about a 30-minute a mile pace. Some of our fastest runners yesterday were around 20, 23, 24 minutes. I want to send a shout out to some really awesome folks, Jim and Trish, who are our run directors yesterday. So Jim and Trish and a bunch of other really helpful folks with the Tucson Trail Runners drove up the Catalina Highway and then had refreshments and vehicles for us at the top of the run, which I cannot tell you how grateful I am, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of the other runners who made it to the summit, how grateful we are for the refreshments and drinks that we had. So as we're climbing along this last stretch, we're probably about 7,000, 7,500 feet above sea level, and the temperature is quite a bit cooler up here. The wind is pretty strong. There's a lot of exposed rocky terrain, and so if you've never done this hike before, never done this run before, and you're starting at the bottom, you really, as common sense would dictate, need to prepare yourself really well for rapidly changing weather conditions. The weather at the bottom of the run at midday was in the 70s. Up at the summit, it was below 50, and the wind chill I heard was as low as 43 degrees. So there's quite a variation in temperature as you're making this climb to the summit at Mt Lemmon. So here we are coming up to the last push to the summit. It's just a hell of a run. It was so much fun. It was a beautiful day. We had a nice cloud cover, and so the temperature was just ideal for this run, which we did in November of 2016. The Tucson trail runners did in November of 2016. And as you can imagine, as you can kind of see from the Google Earth footage here, the views are just really amazing, astonishing, astounding views in all directions. A couple of things to note as you're climbing in elevation. Certainly your oxygen consumption is a lot more labored, and so you'll want to prepare yourself for that. So here we are reaching the summit. I'll pivot around here so you can see southward. As I mentioned before, there's really only one water source on this particular trail, and so you'll want to pack in all the nutrients and water that you would want if you're going to try to make this ascent from Sabino Canyon up to the summit at Mt Lemmon. The one water source, once you get out of the Sabino Canyon Recreation Area, is at Hutches Pool, and Hutches is about 7.5 miles from the Sabino Canyon Recreation Area. And even Hutches, you'll want to have some sort of water filter. I had a mini Sawyer water filter with me. You see a lot of bugs and algae in the water. It's probably loaded with bacteria. So you'll want to carry a water filter with you to refill your water at 7.5 miles. The total run was 19 miles, a little under 19 miles from Sabino Canyon Recreation Area up to the summit. Pivot around one final time so that you can see the summit at Mt Lemmon. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.